Origin Clear is a company that focuses on wastewater treatment.
And hello, everyone. And welcome to the Water is the New Gold CEO briefing. Our mission is to transform the water industry.
Decentralization offers us this opportunity.
The plan that you've built here is super impressive.
The world is experiencing a crisis in regards to water. It's a great opportunity that you are giving us investors.
The decentralization of water treatment means that we no longer need to establish giant water treatment plants.
Let them fight over the 20%. Let's work with the 80% that's untreated.
Over 21,000 unique alternative investments.
3 million jobs in the U.S. alone.
Making it easy for the regular investor.
All the old trends just accelerated.
Lucrative and fulfilling.
The vision I've got is to standardize these products.
Design, build, own, and operate.
We have 65 people in the room.
We got an important message to share to the world.
We can put a guy on the moon, but our water is horrible.
Recycling all that water, it's a huge impact for the environment.
Bringing new infrastructure in, drive growth in America.
That's a critical part of the picture.
It's a twin 125 gallon per minute RO system.
I don't think we're talking about a $10 million fund. We're talking about a series of $10 million.
Yeah, the opportunity itself is very big.
To live, yes. Take care of the water.
Not too many CEOs do a weekly briefing and are willing to talk to individual investors.
Welcome, everyone, to the CEO briefing. And I have with me the infamous Andrea and Ken. JRW, hey, greetings, everyone. Looking forward to more good info tonight. Thanks for all your good work. Well, thank you very much. Water's the New Gold, Thursday, February 24th. And this water is becoming more and more interesting. I've been getting interviewed for various publications. It appears that water and war is a topic. And who knew, right? And my main opinion about the dangers of water and war is, well, we know the physical dangers, but there's a new 21st century danger, and that is cyber attacks, which I covered last week. And I'm continuing to comment on that in the press. Michael Kyle says thanks and thank you. Of course, you have the ability to listen in Spanish. Just click on the globe symbol. Let's continue. Yes, the forward-looking statements mean that we are always have to hedge our statements because we're a public company, but we do our very best to get it right, and we correct it when we don't. All right, so where are we with capital status? We are inching closer. We are like $8,900 away from being at $1 million. Actual banked is 959,600. So we're clicking along here. There is some larger stuff coming, but it appears that we will be very shortly at the $1 million, in which case we will be announcing that. As you can tell, we've made it very challenging for ourselves, but rightly so, because for every dollar that we raise, 50% goes into water equipment. And so that is very powerful, because as we continue to scale up, we'll end up with all these investable assets. So it's really, really powerful. And it's something that we could only do really once we got really, really strong. Okay. Now, today I talked about supply chain delays. What's up with that? So let's take a look at what Morgan Stanley is saying about that. And this is the link right here, /ideas/supply chain disruption. So you can always take a look at it yourself. So what's going on with global supply chains? Well, the first thing we know is that there is a boomerang recovery. And this is a really interesting graph, because you notice how pandemic spending shifted to durable goods. And it actually overtook services for a while, obviously, because, closed restaurants and so forth. But here's what's interesting. Durable goods kind of separated from services during the Great Recession and never really recovered until we changed our buying habits in the pandemic. And that's a really interesting thing. Now, are services going to recover? I think it's a long haul, but it does mean that we are in a durable goods era. And it's certainly reflected in the amount of business that Origin Clear is doing with water systems. It's pretty amazing. Okay, the second thing is high freight costs. Lots of labor shortages. Obviously, the price of gas, right? Diesel. Also, air freight capacity is way down. I have no idea why. And there is supposedly some supply chain relief just by some catch up happening. Here's the long-term interesting thing, and I emphasize nearshoring. We need to stop outsourcing our manufacturing, and we're seeing this happen for us. A lot of customers are coming to us because we are made in USA, and as a result, they find it to be more controllable situation. For those of you who are interested in the earnings cycle, it's strange because right now it's going to be very strange to have not enough inventory, too much inventory. In this article, it talks about how semiconductors and tech hardware are the most exposed. Industrials are better off. All right. Ellen, thanks for raising your hand, but the best thing to do is do a chat, and then we'll be happy to address your questions. Okay. What's our experience? Well, at the Monday meeting, Mark Stevens told us he's the president of our division in Dallas, and pumps are now at 17 weeks for certain key models, longest he's ever seen. So we're actually said, okay, guys, let's help you do some advanced buying. Now, this is the ironic part. Obviously, if everybody starts, squirreling away inventory, it's actually going to worsen supply chain disruption. It's kind of like a game of musical chairs, right? But now the strength of this business that we have, and I just literally looked up the booked orders as of Monday, and that's combined progressive water treatment and modular water systems. We have a bit over a month left to go, and we're well ahead of our normal quarterly run. So we think that it's because people have a use it or lose it kind of attitude. Things are going to get more expensive. They got their budgets, do it now. And I do want to make it clear that booked orders are not revenue. It does take several months to fulfill. I believe we will have some good news for you from the annual report, but I do not have final numbers. Still waiting for that. But it is starting to reflect. I told you that last year we went over $12 million in booked orders. How much of that reflected in the same year? I really can't say, but it's most of it will start reflecting in 2022 and 2023. So that's the situation with supply chain. I would say that we are in trouble for supply chains because now, of course, we have war. I don't have a position on the war, but what's for sure is that Russia is a very large exporter of oil and gas. And, if Germany stops getting gas or oil, then it affects all supplies because oil is what they call fungible. You can interchange an oil scarcity in Singapore is reflected in New York, and this is how it is. So I think that we're going to see a lot more inflationary pressure, and that is going to lead to more people getting into assets. It's going to drive short-term. Obviously, the stock market will love it because apparent sales will continue to grow. But it's also going to hit earnings because life will get more expensive for these. And what's going to be hit, of course, is the consumer's pocket. So as I covered a couple of weeks ago, we're going to have a combination of inflation with deflation because the actual demand will not be as strong due to historically very low growth in population over the pandemic. All right, enough of that. Let's talk about the deep dive that I promised you. Again, based on another Morgan Stanley article. And basically, there is a gap between the water that is available and what is needed. A 40% difference is huge. This is going to, A, be a big problem, and B, is going to push a lot of demand for water. And behind that, of course, is water infrastructure. Now, let's take a look at it. Now, first of all, water demand has increased tremendously. And, we have the various parts of the world that, definitely the blue is the strongest growth. That is, of course, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And so they seem to have a lot of growth. Obviously, China is the big one. Now, here's the thing. As it says in this article, there are very few free markets to set water prices. And this has led to a lot of distortions. Because there's lack of free markets, water prices are not being priced, water rates are not being priced right. There's a lack of infrastructure spending. Now we're going to see market-based systems, the next to last paragraph here, market-based systems could become more prevalent as growing water shortages lead to increased scrutiny, greater regulation, and ultimately higher costs. And that will lead to risks for businesses. And this is what we've been saying all along, is that rising water rates are driving business users to do their own water treatment, which is the business we're in. $1.4 trillion over the next 4 years will be invested in expanding and improving global water infrastructure. Very interesting. Okay, so we're in a growth business for sure. Water saving innovations in agriculture. Now, 70% of all water is agriculture. And then, as you can see on the graph on the right, obviously Africa leads in terms of agricultural use, but the municipal, that is you and me, that's people just using personal stuff, homes, apartment buildings, etc. If we look at, for example, the Americas, we see that actually agriculture and industrial are almost the same, about 85%, something like that. So, but agriculture overall is huge. And what is being done is we're going to see a lot of smart irrigation methods with internet controls and so forth. That's simply of interest. But it's surprising. We always think of agriculture as being, by far the biggest, but that's only true in Africa and to a certain extent in Asia. The Americas, Europe, and Oceania. Well, I would say the Americas is the one that has a huge amount of industrial, and Europe even more. Okay, so I guess the more developed you are, the greater percentage of industrial usage of water you have. Okay, and they mentioned a couple more areas of benefit. Modern metering to track water use, and we've seen that happen a lot, and that is directly related to our water on demand initiative. And I think desalination of seawater is also going to be vital. Robert Baxter says, can I review and send to a friend? Absolutely. You will get a link for the replay, and you can share that replay. Please do. And Daryl wants to know, how is Origin Clear poised to capitalize on urban vertical farming, and can it be combined with urban wastewater issues for a double win? Wow, that is very powerful. And I would say that we are not currently playing in that game, but I think it's really, what you've got there is really, really interesting. There's some very innovative techniques for treating wastewater combined with creating, for example, fertilizer and so forth for the farming. So interesting stuff. We're not currently in the space, but we're looking at it for sure. The spaces we are in are, more in the area of local businesses. That's the number one thing, where there's, businesses that have a need. For example, RV campgrounds, perfect example of a business that tends to be disconnected from the sewer. And we do a lot of that. We also have been doing a lot of small cities. We're very good with that. Bottom line. Now, this is very interesting because businesses are rethinking their water use. Agriculture may be one of the biggest users of fresh water, but the growing water crisis will no doubt require virtually all industries to rethink their water use. So what that means is watch out for the water pricing. And this is, again, why we believe that that businesses need to control their own water pricing by doing it yourself. And they are going to have to get serious about water recycling, which is us. We don't really get into desal. We do desalination on order, but we don't have a formal product line for it. All right, so pharmaceuticals, beverages, semiconductors, apparel, and data centers are big users, and they're very affected by that water supply. Okay, the next thing I wanted to go over was, when you're doing something new, the worst thing you can be is the only one in the space. It really helps to have competitors. So we have competitors, and I thought I would spend some time taking a look at they are. There's basically two major competitors that we know about. Now, every water company does things called DBOO, design, build, own, operate. But these are the big specialized players, the ones that do only that. Okay. The original was 7Cs, and they were acquired by Aquaventure Holdings, sold to Culligan for $1 billion. And they like to do the big desalination plants for, the Bahamas, Bermuda, and so forth. And what they are is basically a large scale private utility. And what are their selling points? Well, here they say it right here: no upfront capital. The end user can get rid of their existing stuff and rebuild with water as a service. Much more reliable, simplify, and reduce costs. So the same thing that we're saying we can do for customers is what they can do. Now they have a very handy comparison matrix, which I think you'll enjoy. And Yen Chang says, please email me the links for today's and previous talks. Absolutely. We will be happy to take care of that. Kevin will take care of that. Okay. Let's take a look here then at that competitive matrix. On the far left is water as a service, which is what we do, obviously. And, we design, own, build, etc. EPC is engineer, procure, construct. I had to look that up. But what you've got here is we design, own, and build, whereas in traditional engineer, procure, construct, the equipment vendor's goal is basically at odds with yours because they're trying to make a profit. Same thing for even with where they do the outsourced treatment of operations and maintenance. They're supposed to service you, but they also are trying to make money. All right. Water as a service, no upfront capital. We get paid only for the water produced. We pay all operating costs. You have no hidden costs or surprises. And then we have also guaranteed performance, responsible for all safety, environmental, and regulatory compliance. You sleep easier, and our design and operations ensure low life cycle costs that are stable and predictable. This is exactly what we're saying also, okay? This is the water as a service model. Now you notice we never say water as a service because it is a registered trademark of 7Cs. So that's why we do water on demand. That's our brand. Okay, so that covers 7Cs, but also the general category of this water as a service versus these other things, which are pretty obvious. Basically, these other two categories, you're basically on your own. All right, now we have a new mid-sized player, Cambrian Innovation. They're venture capital funded, and they're really a great player. We think we admire them tremendously. They run a good business, and they operate in the mid-range. For example, breweries. And just like what we said here with 7Cs and water on demand, construct, install, own, and operate your treatment system with no capital investment. You simply pay for performance on a per gallon basis and focus on your core business. Now, what's this water energy purchase agreement? Well, that's actually a special thing that Cambrian does. But as you can see right here, here's some of their successes with wastewater treatment for mostly beverage companies, winery, beer, and soda beverages. Okay. So the evaluation basically is 7Cs offers, again, pay per gallon, very large systems. Cambrian Innovations, pay per gallon, specializing in beverage systems, and they offer an energy package. What they do is they basically, they generate energy, which I'm not sure how many of these they actually do, but they offer it as on the product line. We think that is going a little bit too far because it's a focus problem and you just want to do the water treatment right, my opinion. But that's just a difference in approaches. All right, so this here, what's the biggest difference? Well, I wrote this today for an article, so you can see we're a fintech pure play. Fintech is any startup that is financial technology, and pure play means it's only that. We're not designed to build our own equipment. Our plan is to contract with local water equipment companies that can build and support systems. And that allows us to expand because we don't have to build a gigantic water company to install what we finance. You can finance things a lot faster than you can build them. That's the truth. So what we do is we're going to do a lot of financing, and we already are, and just farm things out like crazy. Local partnering. We plan to harness local water company resources to build, install, and service these systems. This can make a partner out of every water company in North America. And we think that is a winning thing. One of the things I learned in the .com era was an important rule: never compete with your natural partner. So if you've got a partner in the channel, don't try and undercut them. And we think that this is a positive thing to do. All right. And I have some more on the chat line here. Yen Chang wants to know about home water purification. And we actually do not operate in home water purification because that is a completely different scale. We stay in business, which is actually, business and agricultural use is 87% of all water treatment. So we don't need the remaining 13%. We're good with staying in business and not having to compete with big guys like Fuji and other major players. So that's what that's about. We're very happy with our positioning in that we have other players who are very good players, but they always want to do it themselves. And we actually would prefer mostly to farm this out. Now, one of the big reasons we did this was because our Dallas and Virginia operations were just completely slammed, and they are just booming, and they're barely keeping up with the demand. But even after they catch up and we continue to build them out, I'm sure we'll give them some work, but we'll treat them on an arm's length basis as just being another water company. We don't want to try and keep things in-house because I think we'll miss out on the big expansion. Now, I also mentioned in the CU update that there's an SEC crackdown going on crypto, and I wanted to talk about what this is. This is very interesting and then highlights where we have a strength. SEC, this is came from Jeff Brown, the Bleeding Edge, Brownstone Research, and basically they came down hard against BlockFi for offering 9.5% interest on crypto, and Coinbase tried to do the same thing that because of what the SEC said, it's not available in the US. Here's the deal: at the way at the bottom there, it's a security. The Securities Exchange Commission wants to think of things as a security. Why? Because they are the US Securities and Exchange Commission. So therefore, that's what they do. So it's obvious. Now, here's why it's a strength for us. Our water coin, H2O, which is steadily being registered very successfully as a trademark, and we're about to do a permanent patent application, et cetera. We have the provisional right now, is intended to be a security. Why? Because it carries dividends, and there's no question that dividends are a security, and we're completely reconciled with that. So that's the plan. We're very comfortable with that, and you'll be hearing more about this as we develop it. So with that, I'm going to flip into the trio, the notorious three. So guys, I was all over the place this time with my topics. You could tell, right?
I think it was very interesting.
Yeah, there's fascinating things happening. And I think especially the inflation bear is, not to make a pun about the Russians, but the inflation bear is about to attack us with a lot of disruption from what's happening. I don't think it's stopping anybody in government. They seem to be quite happy to be spending our money in the cause of a distant country. But what it does mean is that energy prices are on the way up. And we're going to, this is, I believe, driving more and more use of water systems by their, self-ownership.
You know that during two things that I believe are interesting for us. When the whole situation of the pandemic occurred quite some time ago, Italy was one of the first countries to close, and then followed to the rest of the world, and so on and so forth. Right now, in Italy, the index that measures the cost of energy and so on is at 3 times what it was before. So it's at 300% up, just right now.
300% of the inflation?
Yep, it's 300% up in the cost of energy. So people saw their bill multiplied by 3. So, and that's just, and it's occurring right now. It's very easy to find out. You can just go online and check the specific name of the index is called PUN, but you can just check the complaints and you will find out a lot about it. So it's clear that this wave of inflation is coming our way, and for those of you that have stocks, you see what occurred in the stock market, so you know what is happening. It's foolish not to hedge and not to be prepared with asset class that will definitely be a very interesting asset class, like water. And probably water is the one that is really still, you can still enter, right? Try to invest in a power plant right now. I mean, it doesn't exist as an investment, but you would love to have a power plant as an investment right this second. So right now, water is probably one of the only asset class available, utility available. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, but I think that's one of the only ones.
I would think that
trying to chase energy right now is probably not the way to go.
That's crazy.
You know, I remember when the pandemic first hit, and I believe that oil actually went negative. Briggs, remember we discussed that?
Oh, that was during the pandemic, and then it went recently into what's called backwardation, which is the opposite exactly. Right. But you know, the point about water is that it's a category that has not been available for investment. Every other, I went ahead and put some money into XOP because it's the index, but it's already so high, right? You know, we're not going to make tons of money on these things because why? Because Wall Street's way ahead. The water space is the only one that's wide open for investors, and we're making it democratic.
Right. Yeah. The point was that you have to become you have to become a global energy analyst to know how to time the market, right? Who's going to do that? So the average, good luck. So the average guy is going, okay, I'm still stuck, right? And they really don't have access to these traditional asset classes that were affected by hyperinflation and things like, you know, even great things like commercial real estate, IRRs that have been historically in the 10s and 15s aren't going to be that for a couple of years. Energy is so insane, you know, it's always one invasion away from being a calamity, right? Yeah. But here's water, that for the first time, people have the actual ability to invest in as an not as an institution, not as a city or a governmental body, but individual accredited investors, the way they did with oil for so many years. You know, what was interesting when you pointed out, you know, people that you would view as our competitors, there's actually they're only competitors in the sense they do something kind of similar, but we do it in a completely different way, right? I mean, Cambrian Innovations raised $18 million in 2019, right? Yeah. They're still eating off the $18 million that they raised. In other words, that's how slow you grow when you're self-funding. We could do $18 million in a quarter if we wanted to, right? Because there's that much desire out there for folks like us, accredited investors, that go, what the heck am I going to do with my money? So I think that once this opens up more broadly to the public, when the public's aware that there's a safe haven to put the money that needs to be generational and needs to kind of, you know, assets never go to zero is the thing, right? It needs to be generational type money, but also the excitement of being kind of first, and also having that tremendous upside that comes with being an angel or an early adopter. I think that this is going to, as Andrea very reservedly put it, it'll be a very interesting asset class.
That's a beautiful thing. Well, so, you know, with that, I mean, we see that water on a macro basis, this whole Morgan Stanley story is really interesting because it's being recognized that water is becoming a major risk for corporate users. Prices will be going up as it becomes more market driven. And so therefore there's going to be absolutely a move towards self-management. I remember a story from the 80s when New York University wanted to do their own power generation because it was going to be so much cheaper. And New York City said, no, you can't.
Nope. Yep.
Not gonna let you do.
Right. It is verboten. Right. I know.
That's right. I was an analyst in the early 90s at a very high voltage electric power firm, and I did a study of the Tallahassee, all the 16 state buildings in Tallahassee, and putting in place one of those cogeneration systems so that they could heat and cool those buildings, and with the steam coming off of it, cool all of the Florida State University. Free air conditioning for FSU.
Wow.
Again, forbidden by the municipal utility. No, can't do it. And it got shot down. So fortunately in water, we don't have that kind of problem. There's less dog in the manger going on because the water municipalities are overstressed and they don't have money. It's like, okay, fine, do your own treatment. Can you just give us clean water? And so that problem does not occur in water. We just don't see a problem with that. And as I mentioned, we're actually helping some small cities with modular water treatment systems.
So the excitement, what I hear from that is we have an opportunity to enter at a moment where we can prevent that elite stranglehold. So energy producers have almost a stranglehold on their respective industries, right? We have a chance to actually disrupt that, that stranglehold from being established and allow, like you said, the democratization of just individual accredited investors to do this. And, look, that's exciting stuff. I read somewhere that I don't know, maybe we'll share it in another CEO briefing, but I share with you some reports that came out on all this PPP money and where that ended up.
Oh, tell me about it. No, actually, I think it's very interesting.
Should I bring that up, or am I going to get
Sure,
struck by
why
lightning?
not? I mean, I
have to close the shades of my window so I don't get sniped. 72% of the PPP money went to the top 20% earners in the country, right? So what it ended up being, this pandemic response and the government recklessly printing money, it ended up simply being the largest transfer of, I coined that phrase, we do the largest transfer of wealth in the history, 25 years, I put that in the Origin Clear thing, but the real largest transfer of wealth in human history occurred from the middle class and the lower middle class, the working class, to the to the upper class. Most of these people didn't need it to survive. Some did. It probably saved some businesses. But the reality is that when government gets involved, things can get complicated. By keeping this centrally focused on the small to mid-sized businesses, we actually become the networked, to use your high-tech terminology, we become a networked micro utility enterprise.
Ooh, distributed utility. Yeah.
Where's my pen? Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Network micro utilities.
The worst thing is when I'm talking to Ken while he's in the car and he goes, he arrives at home. What was it?
What did I just say? I don't know. I didn't have a pen either. I know. It's awful.
But here's the thing. Okay, so there's big plays, and for example, Amazon, Jeff Bezos made his billions, et cetera. We're taking a big play, and it's not going to be one at Jeff Bezos. It's going to be that divided by 10,000 investors, right? That is better than stupid PPP that got done, which fortunately, at least we got something, but you're right. I mean, it was pretty sad. What we're doing here is we're bringing about democratization. Now, remember, this number of $1.4 trillion being spent on infrastructure, none of that is going to go to distributed infrastructure, not central. Why? Where's this photo behind me of my front porch? Where is the land to put giant water treatment systems, right? It's not available, and the money's not available, et cetera. So it's going to be small, localized stuff. And so that money is going to flow increasingly. The opportunity is to be an early mover in this and have a big piece of Origin Clear, which is what you are irresponsibly giving away, Ken.
Yes, I am. I'm recklessly giving away the farm here.
Exactly. But it's really good.
Short term.
But it's really good because it recognizes that the people who are able to get off the dime and go into water on demand are going to get, properly a proper piece of the pie, and it's only right. It's only fair.
And I think velocity, I think speed is really where we're going to end up becoming so broad, so appealing to the globalized look at this solution. Look, a multi-million-dollar point of pollution issue, major issue at a location, can be resolved in 90 days, whereas a water plant would take what, a decade to build?
That's it. Exactly. A decade. Right? Well, you got all the permitting and then not in my backyard.
Nobody can live here till we put this thing in, right? There's no building permitting until we have the capacity. So it's the cart before the horse, right? You look at all these residential and commercial zonings. They won't permit new buildings because they don't have capacity. That's what I was saying. But don't worry, we're going to have this thing built in like a decade.
That's more like 20 more years. It's more like 20 or more years. So you're absolutely right. I mean, the famous example is Miami-Dade County with over 100,000 septic tanks. And now they want to fix it because there's poop ending up on the lawns. And so it's,
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, I know. The county, live high. That's, live on a hill. But but Miami,
Toronto Hills in Miami, by the way. Right.
But so the county wants to do a $6 billion project. First of all, they don't have the money. Secondly, it's going to take a while to spend that money. They're going to tear up streets all over the county to get to all these individual 1,000 points of light kind of septic tanks. And instead, you just put in a rebate program to just give people a tax break to put in their own systems. Thank you very much. It's over. And that
it would be
is
what, $20,000 or $30,000 a house? $20,000 or $30,000 a house for a localized system?
That's 1/10 of the cost.
I was going to say, I was going to say a 20th because I didn't do the math as well in my head as you did, but it's a fraction. But see, I think that once we tap into the consciousness, you see, America is not aware that there's a water problem. We joke all the time, I turn on the water, it runs, or we joke that the water's not going to kill you right away, right? Just spoke with someone today, said, look, we just put in a whole house system because I got my water tested. He goes, it's literally not fit for human consumption. Yet my local municipality says, no, it's fine. And he goes, well, no, it's not, right? So he spent a couple $1,000s on a system. That's a systemic issue. What I think one of our missions needs to be, and this is our intrepid Andrea's job, is to really raise the awareness to the American public that this is a crisis that no one this is the crash that no one hears, right? There's a car wreck going on here, and you're unable to actually hear it. Not only is people's health being affected, but the opportunity loss, the capital loss because of regulation and unneeded spending for the local business it's got a number in the hundreds of billions of dollars, right? I couldn't even do the math, but it's got to be massive.
And businesses, it may be invisible to the general public, but businesses are well aware of the problem.
Businesses do know it, yeah.
Oh, it's coming, and it's already here. And from the standpoint of the execution, I think, first of all, just the sheer quantity of things and evolution occurred in the past. I am here almost a month and 3 weeks, almost. So it's a relatively short period of time. It's staggering. The amount of evolution that is occurring is staggering. I think we can become a really big player in this game, And I think that Ken's support is incredible. My support is obviously 100% dedicated. Rick's support to this cause, this movement that we are creating is it's very important. And I would like you guys to consider this. First of all, the demand that is there is mind blowing. Like the demand that is there, to the point that Rick sometimes mentioned how regular business is flooded with requests, So the demand is there, and it's a matter of having enough, let's say, bullets, ammo to be able to take advantage of this particular condition of the market right now, not in the next 10 years, like right now. It's happening right now. What we need is that you guys consider this activity like a movement, like think it like a Tesla, but in the water space, because we have technology, we have a delivery, we have production. We're really creating an ecosystem that will control everything from the financing to the production to the continuation. And we are creating this distributed utility, if you will, distributed because there are all these machines placed in different areas, but they are part of the same network, which is our network. And the bigger the network, the better. The more it's helping and the more it will produce money. So your participation to the movement is really key right now, because it's growing and it's coming and it's occurring right now. If you want your money to keep growing in value, invite other friends to come in, invest, because that will enable us to build this distributed utility. So Ken's it's always open. And actually, guys, I would want to, if you want to, I would love to chat with you guys and have your friends and maybe do some presentation for your friends, because what we are doing here will really make the difference. Like I can tell you, it will make the difference in our society and our market.
And you mentioned Tesla.
Okay, wait. guys, we're loving how we're talking, but it's 8:50. So I'm gonna yes, we want to make sure that our wonderful thoughts don't invade people's nights. But keep the Tesla thought for next week. It's a really good one to get into. I just wanted to mention.
I'll ask you next week. What was I talking about?
Exactly. But talk to Ken about it. Go to oc.gold/Ken. Is that still correct, Ken? I believe it is.
Yes. oc.gold/call Ken.
Call Ken. Okay. But Ken also works. It goes to call Ken. So it's all good. Invest@originclear.com and the phone number. Please talk to Ken. He is a maestro. And thank you for an excellent meeting. It's been very interesting. And next week I recorded a really great interview on a podcast called The Millionaire's Choice, TMC. Tony Bradshaw, great interviewer, and I will be featuring excerpts from that and a lot more really interesting news. And I hope that I can give you more tangible information about what's happening with the economy. So that's the picture. Thank you everyone for coming on board. And we are the trio. So with that, have a great evening. Have a great weekend, everyone. As always, thank you for being on board. We love your support.